I want to talk about Vicky Mboko a little bit more because how is it that all of a sudden this is just clicking for her, or is this a player that you would have said even previously, hey, keep an eye on her, she's something special?
I would have said previously, keep an eye on her. She's something special. The biggest thing with Vicky is that she's just really needed to stay healthy. I mean, she's young, but she's been plagued with a bunch of injuries in the last handful of years. So that has really put, the brakes on how quickly she could rise for a little while. She was in this like stop start pattern so often. So now, the biggest focus is for her to stay healthy. That's 100% what her team's prioritizing. And you're right. She was in Europe for a good year. She was working with Justine Hennon's old coach, Lena's old coach. And um, she definitely isn't naturally a clay court player, is what she would say. But, I think that her being over there, she developed a lot of skills, having to adapt and just be on clay more. Every player, I shouldn't say every player, most players have a preferred surface. So I think that, she'll always love hard courts and indoor hard courts. She's a Canadian. And what can you say? You can't take the Canadian out of the player. But I think that being on clay more has added some more variety to her game, and she's definitely learned. So I think that now that she's back on home soil and working with the team that really played a huge part in her development in the first place, there's like that sense of comfort. She's able to sleep in her own bed more, being home, which is a huge thing, especially at a young age. So important to be around your family and just feel that familiarity of being in your own home. So that's definitely helped mentally for her. And then I think just, adding those tools that she acquired from being in Europe more and adding that to how she's playing in her indoor environment and everything. I think that's really been a huge part of why she's been so successful lately as well. So combining her just being healthy now and having such a great team and support and everything, I think that actually all that adversity has helped her get to the point where she is now. Even though she's so young, it's crazy to think what she's gone through at this point. But if she stays healthy, I think that there's going to be a lot of exciting things for us to see and cheer for.
Who are you working with these days? A particular player or kind of a crew of young Canadian emerging tennis players? What's the focus for you?
Good question. So I'm at the regional training center in Toronto at Sobe Stadium a few days a week, at least 3 days a week, sometimes more. It's looking like it's started to be more already this start of 2025, which I'm really enjoying. And look, there's a lot of good young players. We've got a good group. I'd say in total now it's about 15 to 17 players that come in throughout the week that we work with in groups there. Myself and a couple of other coaches and strength coaches. And individually, I've been working with a couple of good players. I mean, they're all great. So it's not to say that some aren't, but two really good, young, promising up and coming players I'm working with a little more individually is their names are Tessa Puente. So she's one of our top U14 girls, and Dennis Karabulu, who's one of our top U14 boys. So it's been a pleasure to work with them a little bit more one-on-one as well as groups. And then in terms of who I'm working with when I'm doing tours and whatnot, I'd say that I'm more of a supplementary coach in that way. I feel at Tennis Canada, it's very much like a family, and we've got a handful of coaches that really just give their whole life to trying to develop players and make tennis in Canada better. And we're pulled in a lot of directions, and the good part is it's because we have a lot of success at the junior level and also at the pro level. So sometimes, coaches have to fly over here or over there. So we sometimes have to cover each other's bases, if that makes sense. So there's times where, on the tours, I might be working with a player that normally works with another coach. So we have to tag team in that way. So, I look forward to being able to do that and collaborate. I learn a lot from being able to work with those coaches, and there's a number of good, promising players up the pipeline for sure. And recently, we've had the players like Vicky Mboko, who's doing super well, Kayla Cross, who's doing really well as well. A number of other players, but coming into Toronto and training, and at times I've had to jump in and be a supplementary coach for that. And I've known the girls since they were kids, so it's really nostalgic to be on court with them. So for the most part, I feel like I play a role in a lot of different players' lives, some more so than others. But for the most part, I'd say those two that I named, I'm spending the most time with individually. But there's a big group that are really, really great kids.
Well, what a fantastic resource you must be for those kids with all that you've been through and achieved in your career. So that's fantastic for them to get to work with someone who's legitimately done it all, at the highest level. And they grow up quick, eh? Like you're working with those U14 kids, but before you know it, they're going to be the age of like Kayla and Vicky, who are now, 18, 19, 20. And then even the players that most Canadian like hardcore tennis or sorry, casual tennis fans would know, like Dennis and Felix and Layla Annie. I mean, they're still all in their mid to early 20s as well. But it's nice to hear that there's a crew that's coming up because Canadian tennis fans want to know that there's like succession planning, for lack of a better term, I guess. And are you feeling pretty confident that we've got the types of players that can have a career like Dennis, Felix, Bianca, and Layla Annie eventually?
Look, I think that we have been developing more and more players over the years, and I think the results speak for themselves. In the last handful of years, we were both Davis Cup champions and Billie Jean King Cup champions, and Tennis Canada's constantly, trying to implement new ways to support the current players and to help develop more players, and just get rackets in more kids' hands so that we have more people playing tennis in general and coming through the pipeline. So, I think sometimes these things come in waves, but from what I'm seeing right now, we've got a lot of kids that are loving tennis and working super hard. And I think at this age, it's tough to say, okay, this one's going to make it. I think at any age, it really is, but it's tough to say that. But from what I see, I think we have a lot of promise. And I really think also it's showing that if you take a look at, who's coming through the pipeline after Layla Annie Fernandez, who is kind of coming across as a veteran, but she's really in her early
She
mid.
even 24 yet? I don't even think so. Right?
I know it's wild. But we have Victoria Mboko, who won her first round at a Masters 1000 this week in Miami. She's been playing incredible. I mean, I think she had one of the longest match winning streaks, certainly for a teenager. And I'm sure you can whip out other stats, but I believe she won 17 matches in a row or something crazy. Don't quote me on
Yeah,
that.
I think it was even more than that. It was 20 something. We had her on
20
recently, and she's won like 5 ITF titles already this season. So
Yeah, no, she's been absolutely crushing it. So we have that to really look forward to. And you can see that as long as she stays healthy, I think she's got a lot of promise. Kayla Cross, who, I mean, I think I talked to you about her before, like years and years ago. I feel like if you go through those old podcasts, I'm sure that her name popped up, but I've always believed in her. I think she's got a ton of potential. She's a great kid, super good athlete, very fun to watch, lefty with a lot of tools and resources in her game.
great
Um,
doubles player too.
Great doubles player. So she's really just a great all around athlete, tennis player in person. So I'm glad to see that she's getting the success that she so rightfully deserves. We've also got Cadence Brace, who's been climbing up the ranks. She's at LSU with Kayla. But like steadily, improving and winning more and more matches. We got Carson Branstein, who also went the college route and has been.
You're rhyming off all the names I've got on my list here that I wanted to bring up. So this is perfect. Keep it going.
No,
Yeah.
I think if you really take a look at where we are, especially on the women's side, I think it's really exciting. I mean, these players are so young and they've got hopefully like at least a decade more of tennis under their belt. So, if this is where they are now, as long as they stay healthy, I think that there's a lot of exciting things that we can hopefully look forward to.
Thank you guys so much for watching us at Matchpoint Canada. If you like our work, follow along, hit the subscribe button below.